Hello everyone, this is Tina with Taz's Treasures, and today I have for you the Hero Arts April 2023 kit. I already took it out of the box, and so this is the premium kit, and I've got a few add-ons, so let's go ahead and see what comes in it. With the classic kit, you get the 4 ink cubes. I kind of was checking these out already to see if I had them. Butter Bar Bermuda, Green Apple, and Crimson. I think I've got Butter Bar, and that was it, surprisingly. I thought I had Green Apple, but I did not. You also get some really cool washi tape. And just slammed that down, didn't I? We always get this really cool bag that the kit comes in now. I like these little mesh bags for storing. Put it over there. We have a pretty cool stamp set. It's got some, like a pitcher and a vase that you can use as a vase. Some little texture stamps. Greenery and the florals, and you've got like thanks a bunch, amazing, appreciated, get well soon, a rare flower, and forever young, timeless, you're, and a good friend. So I'm gonna have fun playing with that a little bit. So, and it comes with the all the dies for everything, including the sentiments this time, so that's pretty awesome. It also, let's see, comes with this stamp set. One is got text and one is just textured, and I think that's everything with the classic kit. The premium kit also comes, oh, of course that's everything. The premium kit comes in a little baggie that says premium kit. How about that? So it also, the premium kit comes with these really cool, let's open this up if I can get it open. Come on. It comes with some enamel dots, squares, dots, triangles, crosses, just some fun enamel stickers. Tripping over my own tongue tonight. We also get some more fancy dies. These, of course, don't come with a stamp set. These you would use pattern paper or, you know, regular paper and color it. Vase, flowers, florals, all sorts of things you can do. And we also get the stencil with some fun little doodads and squiggles that you can use on your card to do different textures and things. Now these are my additional add-ons that I got. I got some rub-on designs. This is like a bunch of newsprint. It's already kind of collaged on top of each other. I think there's 5 sheets. I think they're, are they all the same? No, they're not the same. Now I have to open these and show these off because I bought these after I bought them. I forgot exactly what they were, and I thought they were the same, but they're not. Oh, come on, you're going to come out of there. It doesn't want to. Look at that. We get some cursive, a map, a dictionary, music. I think I forgot one in here. And of course, this first sheet that was on top of the newsprint. Oh no! Look at that. Well, that just sucks. I'm supposed to be rubbing that on. That was not supposed to come off like that. Well, don't do what I just did. Now I'm going to have to play with this. I'll put it off to the side. I think I'm going to have to be pretty careful. Put it back on its carrier sheet. Can't believe I did that. It's stuck on there. It got stuck on my glue and ripped it right off. Anyhow, I also got a layering stencil. I don't know if you could see that. There are 4 layers, and you end up with this real pretty floral. And I bought some nesting dies, because I had a few arches, but last time I went to do something with it, I found out the arches, like, I think I've got 3 arches, and you can't make real good frames with them, and I just figured I need some more arches. So I bought the Infinity Dies arches. So those were the add-ons. Anyhow, let's make some cards. So starting off, I have the stencil, and I am going to use the primary colors. And we are going to use these beautiful colors that came with the Hero Arts kit. And I'm starting with some crimson. Now, as I was looking at this stencil, I decided I liked the way it was laid out. Now, you don't have to use it in the way it's laid out. You can put these little geographic or abstract designs anywhere on your card. I just was like, I kind of like the way they are already laid out on the card or on the stencil. So I am just going to use some bright, bold primary inks and color up exactly what is on the stencil on my white card base. I'm using some Nina 110-pound Solar White. And my colors are, I think, Blue Hawaii, which is the only one that didn't come with the kit. And then I've got the 4 other cards, Bermuda, Green Apple, Butter Bar, and the Crimson. And I do end up bringing in a purple Hero Arts and the Tangerine as well. Now, after I am done stenciling, I notice that I got the purple color that I use on the left-hand side. I got it in the tangerine, and the purple color also kind of got underneath the stencil a bit. Now, I didn't have any trouble with the green or the crimson or the Bermuda, but the tangerine and the purple, the 2 colors that are not in my little strip there, those I had trouble with. So in order to save the card, I just ended up cutting down the card base. Now see, yep, there's my purple color there. I think that was, I'm not even sure what it is. You could probably see it better than I can doing the voiceover. Now, if I was smart, I would pull all these colors out so I could tell you exactly what they were. I mean, I didn't do too bad. I knew that was Tangerine and Blue Hawaii. It's just this purple one I don't know the color of. But yeah, right here, I end up getting it in the little corner there on the bottom, you can see. And I don't know how I got the purple ink underneath the stencil, but I did. And so I tried to fix it by going over the orange color again, but it didn't work. And so I just decided I was going to lose the bottom and the left-hand side. So I get it, cut it down, and I thought it looked wonderful. I cut it down to, you know what, I should look and tell you. I cut it down to 3 and 3.5 by, what was it, 4 3/4. And it just, I really love the way this background turned out, though. I think it's really pretty and vibrant, and it's just outside my wheelhouse, but it was really pretty. And so while I had my stencil mat out, I decided I was going to also use the additional stencil that I bought, and I wanted blue flowers. So I used the Blue Hawaii for the first stamp, and then I went over the second one and I used the Bermuda. And I'm just putting my stencil in the corner. Everything lines up beautifully. And I've got this sped up quite a bit. I think it's 4 times, 8 times, I don't know. But yeah, then I used the Bermuda on that to give my little petals some highlight. And then it was time for the third stencil, which I used the green apple. And it just a really, really pretty color. And for the last stencil, I was debating. I thought I was going to use the yellow for the center of the flowers until I realized that I would just be making green because the center of the flowers are already blue. And so I was, second guessing myself, wondering if the red would work. And I decided just to go for it. And so it's kind of a really dark magenta it turned on the flowers. But then I had some little red highlights on the leaves. And it really turned out pretty. I was a little bit surprised. So anyhow, for this first card here, I am stamping out I'm going to go ahead and use the stencil background, but I'm stamping out a couple of the florals along with the picture vase and then just a regular vase. I don't know, is there a particular name for that vase I just put down? I'm not sure, but I decided to do a little bit of stamping here. I just use the vase on the left, and then I use the floral, just a great big floral that you're going to see me pull out here eventually. I am using two florals. I'm using this big floral by itself, and then I'm also going to stamp out some tulips, and I'm going to use the stamps on the right hand side for a card later on. I think anyway. No, I know I end up using all of these stamps. I'm tripping over my own tongue tonight, which is not unusual for me. So I'm using some Hero Arts intensified black ink, intense black, and it's a really nice ink. And I have to stamp it like 2 or 3 times for it to show up. I believe I'm only showing me stamping it the one time though, because you don't need to see me stamp it 3 times to know that I did stamp it 3 times. And because I am only using the vase and the big flower, I cut it in half, and that's what I'm using for this card. And because my floral background is so busy, I am not going to color this at all. I'm just going to leave it white. And I think that makes a really dramatic statement against this really busy background. And I am going to stamp out the sentiment, "Get well soon." And for that, I am going to use some VersaFine black onyx ink because I want to heat emboss it, and I don't want to use black embossing powder. I just want to use my clear embossing powder and not have to worry about any stray black grains getting anywhere. So I brought in some Ranger just clear embossing powder. I don't think I have any clear embossing powder from Hero Arts. So, you use what you have. And in this case, it was Ranger. And the Ranger embossing powder melts really nice. I think I've got it, the clear in Ranger and Simon Says stamp. And they're both pretty comparable. I don't know, some people might see difference in embossing powders, and I really haven't found much difference yet. I'm sure if I played with them enough, I might see a difference. And so I am taking some Hero Arts black cardstock, and I am just going to frame out this panel, which I already cut down, and I'm going to put it on an A2 card base, a white card base that's top opening. So I've got my black card base, or my frame,
is 4 by 5 and a quarter, and then the stenciled background is 3 3/4 by 5. And so taping it down, getting everything centered on my card. And again, I just love the way the stencil background turned out. I think the little pops of red on it are really what make it. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pop up my little floral design with the vase. And I'm going to pop up the Get Well Soon sentiment as well. And I'm going to use the Get Well Soon sentiment to ground my vase. And I am going to bring in, after I pop everything up, I'm going to bring in a Spectrum Noir glitter pen just to glitter up the flower and the vase just a little bit. I didn't want to put any enamel dots or sequins on this background because it is, again, a bit busy. But I don't care how busy it is, it's very pretty. And that's it for card number 1. Now moving on to card number 2, I'm doing a little bit more stamping, and the first thing I am going to do is I'm going to stamp the background, the textured background, the little half stamp there, and I am going to stamp that in some Hero Arts caramel ink. And this is where I went to stamp it, and I didn't realize that I hadn't taken out my foam pad yet. But eventually I figured out. Now what I end up doing with this stamp is, because it's only like half the card, I stamp it repeatedly. I think I stamped like 4 or 5 times, and I end up with lines going across the card, which you'll see, and I just stamp over them again and again because this background, it's got such pretty texture that it doesn't hurt it to keep stamping over and over. And you will see what I mean because I didn't cut all of it out. I just kind of move it around. I'm going to restamp this because, again, I had the foam pad in at that point. But you can see here where I move the stamp. And I wasn't sure this was going to work when I started doing it, and I ended up with that line in the middle. I mean, I could have put cardstock across that, but I just kept stamping away. And it gave it a lot more texture than what you see here because I stamped over it again, and it just turns out pretty darn good if you ask me, which you didn't, but I'm telling you, it's nice. So, you know, these voiceovers, I swear, are getting harder and harder for me to do. I don't know if it's because my videos are getting longer. I'm trying to keep them cut down so you're not here all day. But I'm finding I'm having trouble editing them down all the way, you know, for a 20-minute card. I could cut out some of the stamping. I need to like take a master class on how to edit your videos. I think that's the hardest part for me. And I am cutting this card base down to 3 3/4 by 4. Is it 4? I don't even know. I'm just guessing. I shouldn't guess. I should exactly tell you what the card is. So I will measure it. That background is I've got my ruler backwards. It's 5 by 3 3/4. It wasn't that exciting. So I brought in a piece of pearlized blue cardstock from my stash, and I also brought in a piece of green cardstock because I am going to do some die cutting. And I'm going to use the middle of the blue pearlescent cardstock for a vase. And I'm going to use this green cardstock for our little greenery. Now, I'm not going to put a flower on it. I'm just going to use the greenery like it's a branch coming out of the vase. And I have to do a tiny bit of trimming on the greenery. It ends up too long for the vase, and it's got like a little bitty, little bitty, what is it, like a twig coming out of the top almost, that I trimmed down. And I just like the way that it's curved. So I'm using some green apple. I originally just wanted to use what was on my brush, but I didn't have enough on my blending brush, so I had to bring in the little ink cube. And I just wanted to go over and add a little bit of texture to my leaves. You can see where I cut out that vase, my tall, skinny vase. And I am going to just glue the vase flat down on the middle, and I'm going to put my little greenery behind there. I'm going to cut off the 2 leaves from the bottom because I want it to fit in my vase a little better. And then I'm going to cut the long stem off of the floral as well. And it's just a real simple card. Now, I say simple even though it took a lot of stamping to get that background. And, you know, a little bit of die cutting, but it's still a nice flat card. And I'm just gluing down the greenery and the vase. And I am going to heat emboss the sentiment "You're Amazing" on some white cardstock, again using the VersaFine Black Onyx ink along with some clear embossing powder. And we're going to get that all glued down. And like I was saying earlier, I'm getting worse and worse at these voiceovers and the editing, and I really need to figure out how to edit these down a little bit so you don't lose interest, because, you know, my intention is not to bore anybody, but to maybe show you some neat cards, maybe give you some techniques that you haven't thought of, or maybe you can give me some techniques that I haven't thought of down in the comments. That would be great. And now originally with the "You're Amazing" sentiment, I was going to put it along the bottom, but I decided that I was going to stack the "You're" over the "Amazing." I thought it would fit on this card a little bit better. And the funny thing is that all of these sentiments have dies that will cut them out, and I totally forgot they had dies until after I got done making the 3rd card, which is why I just, for the first 3 cards, I just cut out the sentiments using my trimmer here. But by time I got to the 4th card, I remembered I had dies, and I die cut out the last 2 sentiments. I think sometimes that I am so busy trying to figure out what kind of cards I'm going to make that I just don't always remember everything that comes in the kit. And this kit came with a lot of dies. You get all the dies that cut out all the stamps, and then because it was the premium kit, I had all the little dies that cut out, like the two dies for this card that I used. And it comes with a bunch more vases of florals that you can die cut out. Now, to finish this card off, I brought in the a little enamel pieces. Now, these are like little stars almost, or little sparkles, I guess would be a better description. And I just put 3 of them in the upper right hand corner, and it gave it just enough of a added just enough to finish this card off. I thought the blue enamel sparkles matched the cardstock, the pearlescent cardstock, really nicely. Now for this 3rd card, we're going back to the original cardstock that we stenciled, and I pulled in a piece of yellow cardstock from my stash that I thought would look really nice behind the stencil. And I'm heat embossing here on some black cardstock. You're appreciated. And I'm using some Wow opaque bright white embossing powder for that. Now, I don't care how, it's like even when I'm using my anti-static bags with these, it seems like I still always get a few grains of powder where I don't want them. And, I could use that anti-static tool for like an hour and still get grains. Never ever fails. Luckily, I think I only got a couple grains on this, and I was able to cut this sentiment down to hide them. So it worked out in the end. So we've been having some strange weather here in Illinois. I think actually probably in most of the country. We had 80s at the beginning of the week, or the end of last week. I don't even know what day it is half the time. So anyway, we had like 3 or 4 days of 80s, and I got my shorts out, and it's like I was walking the dogs and really enjoying the weather. And then all of a sudden a cold front came through, and we got about an inch of snow. And it's just been in the 40s and the 30s and 40s, and today it was back in the 50s. But it's just, I mean, I love spring, but I could do without the crazy shifts in the weather. And then on top of that, we've been trying to remodel my bathroom, my upstairs bathroom, which I thought, well, my husband was on vacation, so we were going to do a quick remodel. And I thought we would just kind of replace the vanity and the mirror and the light fixtures. And I think we were going to do the floor as well. But it's a very small bathroom, so it wouldn't have been that much. And after we get started, start ripping out some stuff. It turns out my subflooring was rotten. So we ended up having to pull everything, including the bathtub. And so where I wasn't going to buy a new tub, we couldn't get it out without destroying it. And we were going to keep the original toilet, which was a gray that matched the bathtub. But once we got the tub out, they don't make gray toilets or bathtubs anymore. And so we had to buy a new toilet on top of, buying a new bathtub. And it just turned into a very expensive project that was supposed to be done in a week. And now my husband's going back to work tomorrow, and I don't have any bathroom upstairs at all. And so anytime in the middle of the night I want to get up, I gotta like trudge down 2 flights of stairs because we're in a tri-level. And it's just like, yeah, the best laid plans. So it's going to probably be another month before my bathroom is finished now. It'll be worth it in the end, So anyhow, I love the way this card is turning out. Now, I don't end up putting any enamel dots or anything on it. I think it looked great the way it was. Now, for this fourth card here, I went ahead and I took an A2 card base, and I used one of my infinity dies to cut out an arch from some Hero Arts black cardstock. And I brought in a piece of ink blended background cardstock that I had in, I want to say it's a very saturated salvage patina, which was just sitting on my desk. I had used an ink roller, and I really saturated this cardstock, the blue one you're seeing there. And I thought that would just look perfect behind the arch. And being as it was on my desk anyway, I decided to use it, and that's why it was on my desk, so I would remember to use it at some point. And I just put it behind the black cardstock, and I just think it's a really pretty contrast, the black and that blue. And you can see where I've got the picture and the tulips that I stamped out earlier. And I am going to end up coloring those with some alcohol markers. And the color I end up using, well, I end up using some Spectrum Noir Tri-Blend markers. And I really love these things simply because I don't have to figure out which colors blend together. And I brought in 3 different markers, the gold yellow blend, the light green blend, and then I want to say a coral blend. And they turned out really nice. Now I've got this way sped up. I want to say like 8 times the speed that I normally color. And I start with the darkest color. I find I get a little better blends when I know exactly where my shadows are going to be. I don't end up like getting too much dark on because I'm just putting the dark on first. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but it works for me. I know a lot of people start with their lighter color first, but I was doing that and wasn't getting really good blends until I started trying to do the dark colors first. Now, I do have some Copics, but they, I don't know, I have trouble picking out which colors blend together, you know, because I don't have all of them, and I don't know that I ever will. And these tri-blends just work enough for me. I don't do a buttload of coloring. Now, all of the Copics that I do have, I ended up buying like secondhand on eBay. If you've watched any of my videos before, you know I like to buy stuff on eBay. I don't like to pay full price if I don't have to, you know. And the tri-blends, though, I got on Amazon, and they've got a pretty good price on there. So if you're in the market for some, I would give them a look. So I stamp out "You're a Rare Flower" with the Hero Arts Intense Black ink, and I'm going to bring in the dies and actually cut these out. Now that I've remembered that I have word dies, I'm a little upset that I didn't remember earlier, but I still think that the sentiments look fine on the other cards without being cut out, just with their little squares. Now I'm going to glue down the picture and the flower right in the center of the arch, and I'm going to pop up the sentiment going over it. Now I'm just gluing these down flat in the arch, kind of making it look a little bit like a window. But after I had it glued down, I didn't like the way that I had that sticking up. The stem was way too long, and that's when I decided I would just take the sentiment and put it right over that stem. Now, if I had to do it again, I might have cut down the stem a bit and put the sentiment elsewhere, but this is how I decided to fix this issue. Too long of a stem? Well, we'll just cover it up with the sentiment. And I put that sentiment right over the middle there and centered it. And then I centered the "your" right above that. And now I'm going to bring in a few of the enamel dots in the blue that match the background pretty well. I figured that it looks a little plain yet, and so these enamel dots are perfect. And I'm very surprised that we are already on the 4th card. When I'm doing these voiceovers, it just seems like there's a lot of stuff that I want to say, and I think I'm going to say as I'm creating these cards, and then I get in front of my computer and everything I wanted to say kind of goes out the window. I should start like making notes so I could tell you everything I want you to know. So for this last card, I just kind of started playing around and did a hodgepodge of different stamps, and I used the washi tape, and I did everything in black ink on the card to start. And it kind of looks like a hot mess, but it ends up looking pretty good when I'm done. At least I think it does. Now I've got the text background stamp here, and I'm just kind of got it in my hand, and I'm just going to do a little bit of stamping here and there on the front of this card. No rhyme or reason. I do a little bit of secondhand stamping as well. And I'm not really sure how this is going to look at this point. I'm just fiddling around and hoping for the best. And I'm cutting out a few rub-ons here and there. Like I said, I have no clue what I'm doing at this point. I'm just like, well, it works for other people. Let's see if I can get it to work for me. And surprisingly, when all was said and done, it did. But at this point, I still wasn't sure if this card was going to end up in the video or in the garbage. It could have gone either way. This could have been a video with only 4 cards. But it does end up in the end working out. So if you didn't mind listening to me tonight, I would love for you to give me a thumbs up. I would even love more for you to become a subscriber. I swear to God, I will eventually figure out what I want to say on these videos, and you won't have to listen to me ramble quite as much. Okay, that's a lie. I probably will always ramble just because that's who I am. I tend to talk too much, and I tend to ramble when I do talk. But these rub-ons are really fun. If you have a chance to use them, I would highly recommend using them, because it's just something to be said about that, putting them on the back there and using the little popsicle stick to put them down. It's just it's different. And now I've got the little crosshatch stamp, and I'm just going to stamp that out as well. Like I said, I'm just kind of using a few stamps here and there, not sure what I'm doing. I'm just stamping them in the background and hoping for the best. And at this point is when I'm kind of looking at this thing going, oh no, this just doesn't look good. But I am persevering. And now I've got the little stamp, the little round stamp that I am going to just put in between and try to look for some white spots and filling out this card. Now I am bringing in some of the dies that came with the premium kit, and I'm going to cut out this big long stem, and I'm going to ink that up with a little green apple just like I did in the previous card, just to give a little bit more dimension. And I am bringing in a piece of red cardstock from just a little scrap I had, and I'm going to cut out a floral, and I'm going to use the crimson. I'm going to use the crimson ink to give that a little bit more dimension. And I'm going to pop out the center there. At this point, I don't realize the center pops out, but it does. The center just pops out in a little circle, and I'm going to replace it with a yellow center. I had debating cutting out the center, and I was really pleased to find out I didn't have to cut it out. It popped out all by itself. So again, I brought a little scrap of my own cardstock in the yellow. I guess everything is my cardstock, because this kit didn't come with any cardstock, so you will need some. And I am going to stamp out the sentiment, "You're a good friend." And I decide that black ink just is not going to do it. And I thought about using black cardstock with white ink, but I decide to use the crimson ink and stamp out "You're a good friend" in crimson. I figured the splash of red always looks good against black. And we have a lot of black in this card. And so using the word dies, I'm just cutting out the sentiment. And we're going to glue all this down flat on my card. And I do not cut down the background at all. I just glue it on there. And like I said, it still looks a little bit of a mess, but once this card has the floral on it, I think it turns out pretty good. So, you know, don't be afraid to just keep slapping stuff on your cards and hope they turn out. Because this one surprisingly did. And I just really like the way it looks. It's different for me. I try to make things look a little pretty, and this one just looks very multimedia. And I decide I am going to put You're a Good Friend over the floral. Well, a good friend has to go over the floral because there's nowhere it's going to fit. But the Your, I think I'm going to just leave it on the left. I'm going to left justify it. I thought about putting it right in the center, but for whatever reason, I just like the way this looks a little bit better. And I end up bringing in some of the enamel dots and the enamel squiggles and just the enamel shapes, I guess. They are shapes. I don't know why I'm having a hard time coming up with that word. And I just pick a bunch of different shapes and I put 3 in the left bottom corner and 3 in the right upper corner. And because there's so much abstractness going on in this card, it just really works with these enamel shapes. Because some of them I just wasn't sure what I was going to do with them. But the red shapes just work wonderful on this card. And that was it for card number 5. So here are the 5 cards again. Please let me know what you think of them. Let me know if you have a favorite. I'd love to hear what you think about these cards, because I was just flying by the seat of my pants here, trying to get something neat done. Anyhow, that's it. I'm so glad you stuck with me. Bye-bye for now.